The Battle of Proxima Neutral Zone began with a single word. Attack, Empress Zarathic commanded through her communicator dot from the windows of the neutral station. Captain Jake Morrison watched as the Catherian fleet opened fire. 1,200. Warships unleashed their weapons at once, filling space with deadly energy beams and plasma bolts. For a moment, the darkness between the stars became bright as day, but the human ships were ready. Admiral Grace Thompson sat in the command chair of the UES Resolution, watching her tactical displays with calm eyes. She had been preparing for this battle for 20 years, running simulations and training exercises until every move was perfect. All units, execute Plan Alpha, she said into her communicator. Her voice was steady and confident. The human fleet moved like a single living thing. 3,000 ships shifted position at the exact same time, creating overlapping fields of fire that covered every angle. The Catherian weapons struck human shields and bounced off harmlessly, the energy absorbed by systems the aliens had never seen before. And the humans fired back. The quantum disruptors that Colonel Dan Price had mentioned were not like any weapon ever used in space combat. Instead of trying to break through alien armor and shields, they simply made the armor forget it was supposed to be solid. Catherian ships that had survived hundreds of battles suddenly found their hulls turning to mist. Impossible. General Vexstar screamed on the Catherian command frequency. Our armor is the strongest in the galaxy. Was the strongest, Admiral Thompson corrected through the open channel. Until today. The first wave of Catherian ships simply vanished. One moment they were there, firing their weapons and trying to break through human lines. The next moment they were gone, their hulls dissolved by weapons that attacked matter itself. Empress Zarathic watched from her flagship as her perfect fleet began to die. Ships that had conquered worlds were being destroyed faster than her sensors could count. The blue energy lines that made Catherian vessels so beautiful were flickering out like candles in a storm. All ships, focus fire on their command vessel, she ordered. If we can destroy their flagship, maybe we can break their formation. 100 Catherian warships turned their weapons toward the UES Resolution. Energy beams and plasma bolts converged on Admiral Thompson's ship from every direction. The attack was so intense, it looked like a small star had been born in the middle of the battle. But when the light faded, the Resolution was still there. Its shields had not even flickered. How? Admiral Quindel whispered Commander Beth Rogers, still on the neutral station, activated another part of her holographic display. Layered defense systems, she explained to the shocked aliens. Energy absorption, matter displacement, and quantum reflection. Your weapons can't touch our ships. Back on the Resolution, General Rick Barnes was coordinating the human attack. His tactical display showed the battle from every angle. The Catherian fleet was trapped in a perfect killing box, with no way to escape and no way to fight back effectively. Second wave, execute, he commanded. 1,000 human ships moved to the next phase of their attack. These vessels carried different weapons, ion disruptors that shut down alien electronics and neural scramblers that confused enemy targeting systems. Within minutes, half the remaining Catherian fleet was floating helpless in space. Empress Zarathic stood on her bridge, watching her empire's greatest fleet fall apart around her. Her crystal armor was now completely black, the color of despair. Your Majesty, Admiral Quindel said quietly, we should surrender while we still can. Never, the Empress snarled. I am Zarathic, conqueror of worlds, Empress of the Catherian Empire. I do not bow to anyone. She grabbed the helm controls from her pilot and turned the Dominion's fang toward the human fleet. All remaining ships, follow me. If we must die today, we die with honor. 300 Catherian vessels broke formation and charged directly at the human lines. It was a desperate move, born of pride and fury rather than strategy. The Empress led the charge, her flagship glowing with overloaded weapons and failing. Shields. Admiral Thompson watched the alien charge on her tactical display. "They're brave," she said quietly. "Stupid, but brave." The human fleet opened up with everything they had. Quantum disruptors, ion cannons, plasma lances, and weapons that had no names yet. The space between the fleets became a storm of energy and destruction. The Empress's ship took hit after hit as she pushed toward the human lines. Her hull was cracking, her engines were failing, but she kept flying forward. Around her, other Catherian ships exploded or simply dissolved into atoms. "Almost through," she gasped as her bridge filled with smoke and sparks. But General Barnes had planned for this too. As the Catherian charge reached the human lines, a second wave of ships appeared from behind asteroids and small moons. Fresh vessels with full weapons and shields, perfectly positioned to catch the aliens in crossfire. The remaining Catherian ships were caught between two human fleets. They fought bravely, but there was nowhere to run and no way to win. One by one, they were destroyed or disabled. The Dominion's Fang was the last ship still fighting. The Empress's flagship limped through space, its weapons barely working and its hull breached in dozens of places. But Zarathik was still alive, still commanding, still refusing to give up. "Surrender now." Admiral Thompson's voice came over the communication channels. "Your fleet is gone. Your ship is dying. There's no point in more death." The Empress looked around her ruined bridge. Half her crew was dead or wounded. Her beautiful ship, pride of the Catherian Navy, was falling apart around her. Through the cracked windows, she could see 3,000 human ships surrounding her, their weapons trained on her hull. "You want to know what separates a true warrior from a coward," she said into her communicator. "A warrior never surrenders." She reached for the self-destruct button, intending to take her ship and crew into death rather than accept defeat. But her hand never reached it. A human boarding pod slammed into her hull, and soldiers in advanced armor poured onto her bridge. They moved with deadly precision, stunning her remaining crew with non-lethal weapons before anyone could be hurt further. "Empress." "Zarathik," the lead soldier said, removing his helmet to reveal a human face. "I'm Colonel Dan Price. By order of Admiral Thompson, you're under arrest for war crimes against civilian populations." The Empress struggled weakly in their restraints. "You cannot do this to me. I am royalty. I demand the rights of a prisoner." "Of war, you'll get those rights," Colonel Price said calmly. "But first you're going to answer for the innocent people you killed on our colonies." The Battle of Proxima Neutral Zone was over. In less than 2 hours, the human fleet had destroyed or captured over 1,000 Catherian warships while losing only 12 of their own vessels. It was the most one-sided victory in galactic history. Back on the neutral station, Jake Morrison watched the cleanup operations begin. Human rescue ships were already pulling Catherian survivors from the wreckage, providing medical aid to former enemies. Admiral Thompson's voice came through his communicator. "Captain Morrison, the galaxy is watching. What should our message be?" Jake thought for a moment as he looked out at the debris field where the mighty Catherian fleet had been. "Tell them that humanity values peace, but we're prepared for war. Tell them that we judge civilizations by how they treat the weak, not by how strong they pretend to be." Within days, the news of the battle spread across the galaxy. Races that had lived in fear of Catherian expansion suddenly found hope. Other aggressive empires began to reconsider their expansion plans. Diplomatic ships from dozens of worlds arrived at human space within weeks, offering trade agreements and alliance treaties. The galaxy had learned that humanity was no longer hiding in the shadows. Dr. Amanda Clark stood in her laboratory on Earth, reading reports from across known space. "Interesting," she said to her assistant. 17 different species have asked us to help defend them from aggressive neighbors. The age of human isolation was over. Earth had become a major power in galactic politics overnight, and everyone wanted to know what the quiet species from the third planet would do next. Captain Morrison's final log entry summed up humanity's new position perfectly. We never wanted to be conquerors. We just wanted to be left alone to grow and learn in peace. But when someone threatens our survival, they discover why humans have always been such effective survivors. The Empress thought she was hunting prey, but she learned too late that sometimes the prey has bigger teeth than the predator. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. The silence in the station's meeting room was broken only by the hum of life support systems. Empress Zarathic stared at the holographic display, watching blue dots completely surround her red fleet markers. Her crystal armor had stopped changing colors and settled into a deep, angry purple that seemed to pulse with her heartbeat. 1,200 ships, she whispered. I brought 1,200 of my finest warships. Against 3,000 of ours, Commander Beth Rogers said simply. Empress's head snapped up, and her alien eyes blazed with fury. You made fools of us. You made fools of me. Captain Jake Morrison remained calm. You made assumptions, Your Majesty. We just didn't correct them. Admiral Quindle was still at the window, pressing her black-armored hands against the glass as she stared out at the human fleet. How? She asked. How did you hide so many ships? Our sensors should have detected them. Colonel Dan Price activated another section of the holographic display. Quantum stealth fields, he explained. We've been working on the technology for 15 years. Your sensors can't detect what isn't technically there. General Vextar had been working frantically on his scanner, trying to get detailed readings on the human ships. These vessels, he said, his voice shaking. Their energy signatures are wrong. They're more advanced than anything in our databases. Of course they are, Jake said. Did you think we were just sitting around doing nothing while you conquered? Other worlds? Every time you destroyed a race, we studied the wreckage. Every time you used a new weapon, we developed countermeasures. The Empress stood up again, this time slowly. Her armor was starting to shift colors again, purple to red to orange and back to purple. You have been watching us, studying us, learning our weaknesses. For decades, Commander Rogers confirmed, we knew this day would come eventually. Either we would be ready for it, or humanity would become extinct. Through the windows, more human ships were moving into position. The 3,000 vessels formed perfect attack formations, their weapons trained on the Ketherian fleet from every angle. Admiral Quindle turned back to the group. Our ships have better armor, better shields, individual superiority. Had better armor, Colonel Price corrected, until we developed weapons specifically designed to cut through it. He gestured to the display, which now showed detailed scans of the human ships. Those aren't standard plasma cannons you're looking at. Those are quantum disruptors. They don't break through your shields. They make your shields forget they exist. The Empress's armor flared bright red. Impossible. Want to test it? Jake asked quietly. For the first time since the human fleet had appeared, the Empress looked truly afraid. Her armor flickered between red and purple. Unable to settle on a single emotion, General Vextar stepped closer to his leader. Your Majesty, perhaps we should consider retreat. Regroup and return with a larger force. Retreat? The Empress snarled. Retreat from a pack of primitives who got lucky with their technology? Jake shook his head. Not lucky, Your Majesty. Prepared. We knew. You would never see us as equals. Your species doesn't work that way. You're hunters, and in your mind, everything else is prey. That is the natural order, the Empress said, her voice getting louder. The strong rule the weak. The superior command the inferior. And what happens, Commander Rogers asked, when the prey turns out to be stronger than the hunter? The question hung in the air like a poison cloud. The Empress stared at the human officer, her armor cycling through angry colors. Admiral Quindle spoke into her communicator. Fleet Command, this is Admiral Kindle. What is our tactical assessment? A voice crackled back through the device. Admiral, we are completely surrounded. Human ships outnumber us 3-1. Their weapons are unknown configurations. Recommend immediate withdrawal. Withdrawal? The Empress screamed, snatching the communicator from her admiral's hand. There will be no withdrawal. I am Empress of the Catherian Empire. I do not run from inferior beings. Jake exchanged glances with his officers. Dr. Amanda Clark had been right about Catherian psychology. Their pride would not let them accept defeat, even when defeat was the only logical choice. Your Majesty, Jake said carefully, your fleet is outnumbered and surrounded. Your best choice is to accept our terms and withdraw peacefully. Our terms? The Empress threw the communicator across the room, where it shattered against the wall. You dare to give terms to me? She began pacing back and forth, her armor now a steady, angry red. I have conquered 47 worlds. I have destroyed entire civilizations. I have turned proud warrior races into servants and slaves. And now you're facing something different, Colonel Price said. A race that spent 20 years preparing for this exact moment. The Empress stopped pacing and turned to face the humans. You think you have won because you have more ships? Numbers are not everything in war. You're right, Jake agreed. Training matters. Experience matters. Technology matters. How do you think we compare in those areas? General Vextar was still studying his scanner readings. Your Majesty, he said hesitantly, their ship designs. They incorporate features from dozens of different races. It's as if they studied every vessel in the galaxy and took the best parts. Because that's exactly what we did, Commander Rogers said. Every time your empire destroyed a civilization, we recovered what we could. Kethar shield technology, Vorthan engine designs, plasmari weapon systems. We learned from everyone you killed. The Empress's armor flared so bright red, it was almost blinding. You scavenged from the dead like carrion feeders. We honored the dead by making sure their knowledge would be used to stop you. Jake corrected. The holographic display updated again, showing new tactical information. The human ships were moving into even tighter formations, creating multiple layers of crossfire around the Catherian fleet. Admiral Quindle studied the display with professional interest. That formation, she said quietly, I've never seen anything like it. Because we didn't copy it from anyone, Colonel Price explained. We invented it specifically for this battle. Every ship position, every firing angle, every possible escape route. We've planned for all of it. The Empress looked at the display, then at the humans, then back at the display. Her armor was shifting colors so rapidly, it was making everyone dizzy. You planned this entire war, she said finally. From the moment we learned about your empire, Jake confirmed, we knew peaceful coexistence was impossible. You've never allowed another race to remain free and independent. So we prepared for the war that was always coming. Your attacks on our colonies, Commander Rogers added, gave us the perfect excuse to reveal our true strength. Now every race in the galaxy will know exactly what happens when someone threatens humanity. The Empress turned back to the window. Her fleet looked small and vulnerable, surrounded by the massive human armada. Ships that had terrorized dozens of worlds now seemed like toys compared to the sleek human vessels. I could still fight, she said, though her voice had lost its earlier confidence. My ships are individually superior. My crews are experienced warriors. Your crews are about to face weapons they've never seen before. Jake said. Tactics they've never encountered. Technology that makes your best ships look like antiques. The Empress's armor went completely black, a color none of the humans had seen before. And if I surrender? She asked quietly. Then your people live, Jake said. Your empire survives, just smaller and much more respectful of other races. But I must bow to humans. I must accept that primitives defeated the great Cytherian Empire. Jake shook his head. You must accept that you made the same mistake conquerors always make, Your Majesty. You assume that because someone appears weak, they actually are weak. The Empress stood in silence for a long moment, staring out at the human fleet. Her armor cycled through several colors before settling on deep. Red again. No, she said finally. I will not surrender to prey animals. I will not bow to inferior beings. If I must die today, then I will die as an empress should in battle. She turned to face the humans, her alien eyes blazing with desperate fury. You may have more ships, humans, but you have never faced the full fury of Cytherian warriors. Today, you will learn why we have conquered half the galaxy. Jake sighed sadly. Today, Your Majesty, you will learn why the other half is still free. The neutral station hung in empty space between human and Cytherian territory. It was old and simple, built by traders long ago as a meeting place. Today, it would witness something that would change the galaxy forever. Empress Zarathic arrived. First, her massive flagship leading a parade of warships. The Dominion's Fang docked at the station's main port with great ceremony. Alien musicians played strange music as the Empress walked through the airlock, her crystal armor shining bright gold. She wore her finest battle armor today. The crystals were polished until they gleamed like stars, and they shifted colors with her every emotion. Behind her walked General Vextar and Admiral Quindle, both dressed in their best uniforms. The station's central chamber had been prepared for the meeting. A large round table sat in the middle, with chairs for both sides. Big windows showed. The space outside, where the Cytherian fleet waited in perfect formation. Captain Jake Morrison arrived 30 minutes later in a small human transport ship. With him came Colonel Dan Price and Commander Beth Rogers. They looked ordinary compared to the aliens, wearing simple military uniforms without any fancy decorations. The Empress sat at one end of the table, her armor now a confident orange color. Captain Morrison, she said as the humans entered. Have you brought your surrender? Jake sat down across from her. I've brought humanity's final offer, Your Majesty. The Empress laughed, showing her sharp teeth. Final offer? Look outside, human. She gestured toward the windows. I have 1,200 ships out there. Each one has enough firepower to destroy a city. What could you possibly offer me? Through the windows, the Cytherian fleet stretched as far as the eye could see. The ships were beautiful and terrible, their black hulls glowing with blue energy. Lines, weapons pods hung from their sides like sleeping dragons. Immediate withdrawal from all human space, Jake said calmly. Recognition of human territory. A peace treaty between our peoples. General Vegstar snorted. You cannot be serious. We have destroyed 3 of your colonies, Admiral Quindle added. We have shown you our power. Now you must accept your place. As servants to the Empire, the Empress leaned forward. Her armor shifted to bright yellow, the color of amusement. Let me tell you how this will work, Captain. Your people will relocate to the mining worlds in the outer systems. You will work in our factories and shipyards. In return, we will allow you to live. And if we refuse, Jake asked, then Earth burns, the Empress said simply. Her armor flickered red for a moment. Every city, every town, every farm. We will make your home world uninhabitable and scatter your people across the galaxy as slaves. Colonel Price shifted in his chair, but Jake held up a small hand to keep him quiet. That seems like our only choices then. Serve or die. Now you understand, the Empress said, her armor returning to gold. I am not unreasonable. Choose service, and your people will live. Many races have made this choice and found happiness in serving the Empire. Jake was quiet for a long moment, staring out at the alien fleet. The Cytherian ships hung in space, like a cloud of metal death, waiting for the order to destroy humanity's home world. You know, Jake said finally, my species has a saying, never count your chickens before they hatch. The Empress frowned. I do not understand. It means don't. Assume you've won until you actually win. Jake reached into his jacket and pulled out a small device. It looked like a simple communicator, but Colonel Price and Commander Rogers both tensed when they saw it. What is that? General Vexstar demanded. This? Jake held up the device. This is how I talk to my fleet. The Empress's armor flickered. Between colors. Your fleet? Captain, we have counted every human ship. 50 vessels, hiding behind your moon. Pathetic. Jake smiled. You counted the ships we wanted you to count. He pressed a button on the device. Admiral Thompson, this is Morrison. Operation Starfall is a go. Confirmed, came a woman's voice from the communicator. All units, drop stealth fields. Let them see what they're really facing. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The space around the neutral station looked the same. The Cytherian fleet hung in formation, unchanged. Then the stars began to shimmer. It started slowly. A few points of light that seemed to bend and twist. Then more. The empty space between the station and the alien fleet began to ripple like water. What is happening? The Empress demanded. Her armor was cycling through colors rapidly now. Yellow to orange to red and back again. The shimmering grew stronger. Reality itself seemed to bend and fold. Then the first human ship appeared. It materialized from nothing, as if space itself was giving birth to it. The ship was sleek and deadly, its hull dark gray with blue energy running along its sides. Weapons ports glowed with contained power. Then another ship appeared. And another. Admiral Quindle ran to the window, her black armor reflecting the light. From the human vessels. Impossible, she whispered. More ships kept coming, dozens, then hundreds. They appeared from every direction, surrounding the Cytherian fleet like hunters surrounding their prey. Each new arrival made the space outside brighter as their engines and weapons powered up. The Empress stood up so fast her chair fell over. How many? She shouted at General Vexstar. The red-scaled alien was frantically working on a portable scanner. I cannot get an accurate count. They are still appearing. Through the windows, the human fleet grew larger by the minute. Ship after ship dropped their stealth fields and became visible. They came in all sizes, small fast attack ships, medium cruisers, and massive battleships that dwarfed even the Cytherian flagships. 1,000, General Vexstar reported, his voice shaking. 1,500, 2,000. Commander Beth Rogers stood up and walked to a wall panel. She pressed several buttons, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed the tactical situation outside. Red dots for Cytherian ships, blue dots for human ships. 2,500, she said calmly. 2,800. 3,000. The hologram now showed the truth. The Cytherian fleet of 1,200 ships was completely surrounded by 3,000 human warships. They were outnumbered more. Then 2 to 1. The Empress stared at the display, her armor flickering wildly through every color. This is impossible. Our intelligence reports, ... our scouts saw exactly what we wanted them to see, Jake said. He was still sitting at the table, perfectly calm. We've been preparing for this day for 20 years, Your Majesty. Every human colony you thought was defenseless was actually a trap. Every weak human ship you detected was bait. Admiral Quendel turned from the window. The colonies we destroyed, double quotes, were evacuated weeks ago, Colonel Price said. The explosions you saw were automated defense systems, making your victory look real. The Empress's legs seemed to give out. She fell back into her chair, staring at the holographic display. Blue dots surrounded red dots on every side. There was no escape route, no way out. Your intelligence network failed you, Commander Rogers continued. For years, we've been feeding your spies false information. Ship counts, fleet positions, colony populations. All of it was lies. Jake stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the human fleet stretched in every direction. Their ships were newer and more advanced than anything the Catherians had seen. Weapons that the Empire didn't even know existed charged up and targeted the alien vessels. You wanted to make an example of humanity, Jake said quietly. To show the galaxy what happens when someone defies your empire. Well, Your Majesty, you're going to make an example, all right. Just not the one you planned. The Empress looked up at him, her armor now a deep purple that Jake had never seen before. What do you want? Immediate withdrawal of all Catherian forces from human space. Reparations for the colonies you attacked. And a formal apology to the families of the people you killed. And if I refuse? Jake looked out at the 3,000 human warships surrounding the alien fleet. Then you'll discover why humans are so good at making war, Your Majesty. And why we've been hiding that fact for so very long. Empress Zarathic stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Dominion's Fang. Through the massive viewing window, she watched as more ships arrived from across her empire. Each new arrival made her feel stronger, more confident. Report, she commanded. Admiral. Quindle stepped forward, her black armor reflecting the lights from the control panels. We now have 1,200 ships, Your Majesty. The Third Fleet arrived an hour ago from the Zarian system. Excellent. The Empress's crystal armor glowed bright gold. And the Fourth Fleet? Still 2 days out, but they will arrive before. We attack Earth. The Empress nodded. She had called for every available ship. This would not just be a battle, it would be a demonstration. Every race in the galaxy would see what happened when someone defied the Catherian Empire. General Vextar approached from the tactical station. Your Majesty, our scouts report the humans are moving ships to defend their home world. How many? The Empress asked. 43 confirmed sightings, maybe 50 total. The Empress laughed. 50 against 1,200. They truly are desperate. She turned to face her war council. This will be over in minutes. The humans cannot possibly stand against us. Far away, in a hidden asteroid base called Sanctuary, a very different meeting was taking place. Admiral Grace Thompson stood in the center of a huge command room. Screens covered every wall, showing star maps and ship positions from across human space. Status report, Admiral Thompson said. General Rick Barnes stepped up to the central display. All fleets are in position. The 2nd and 5th fleets are hidden in the asteroid field near Jupiter. The 7th fleet is behind Mars. The others are scattered throughout the outer system. Admiral Thompson nodded. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp blue eyes. She had been planning for this day for 20 years. What about our sleeper agents? Colonel Dan Price answered from his station. Kelly Martinez and her team are in position near the Catherian staging area. They're sending us real-time updates on enemy movements. And Dr. Clark's analysis? Dr. Amanda Clark looked up from her research station. She had been studying alien psychology for years, learning how they thought and what they would do. The Empress will bring everything she has, she said. Her pride won't let her do anything else. She needs to make this look easy. Admiral Thompson smiled. Good. The more ships she brings, the bigger the message we send to the rest of the galaxy. Captain Jake Morrison had just arrived back at Sanctuary. His small diplomatic ship had docked 20 minutes ago, and now he stood in the command center with the others. How did she react? Admiral Thompson asked him. Exactly like Dr. Clark predicted, Jake said. Arrogant, overconfident. She thinks. We're already beaten. And the timeline? 3 days. She'll give us 3 days to prepare our surrender, then attack Earth with everything she has. General Barnes brought up a tactical display. Our ships are ready. Every captain knows the plan. When you give the signal, we can have all 3,000 ships in position within 6 hours. Admiral Thompson studied the display. Red dots showed Cytherian ships gathering near the border. Blue dots showed human ships, most of them hidden in asteroid fields or behind planets where alien sensors couldn't detect them. What about the decoy fleets? She asked. In position around Earth, General Barnes replied. 50 ships just like. Their intelligence says we have. They'll put on a good show until the real fleet arrives. Meanwhile, in Cytherian space, Kelly Martinez crouched in the cargo hold of an alien trading ship. She and her team had been undercover for 3 years, pretending to be human traders working for alien companies. Now they watched as more and more Cytherian warships gathered. Her partner, Agent Tony Walsh, was monitoring alien communications from his position on a nearby space station. They're pulling ships from everywhere, he whispered into his hidden communicator. Even the home defense fleets. Kelly smiled. This was exactly what they had hoped for. The Empress was so confident that she was leaving her own territory nearly. Undefended. How many ships total? Kelly asked. At least 1,500, maybe more. They're not even trying to hide their numbers. Kelly recorded everything and sent the data back to human space through encrypted quantum channels. Every ship, every position, every weakness in their formation. Back on the Dominion's Fang, the Empress held court with her generals. Maps of Earth and the surrounding star systems covered the walls of her planning room. The humans have moved most of their ships to Earth, General Dextar reported. They're preparing for a last stand. How predictable, the Empress said. Her armor was now a confident purple. They think their home world is the most important thing to defend. Should we attack their colonies first? Admiral Quindle asked. Force them to spread their fleet thin? The Empress shook her head. No. Let them gather everything in one place. It will make destroying them easier. She pointed at the star map. We will jump directly into Earth's solar system with our full fleet. Overwhelming force. Complete victory. What if they try to surrender during the battle? General Vextar asked. No surrender, the Empress said firmly. They had their chance. Now they will serve as an example to other races who might. Think about resisting us. She walked to the window and looked out at her growing fleet. More ships were arriving every hour. Soon she would have the largest invasion force in Cytherian history. Your Majesty, Admiral Quindle said, our intelligence suggests the humans might have hidden bases. Should we search for them? The Empress waved her hand dismissively. Hidden bases with what? More of their weak ships? Even if they have twice as many as we think, they still cannot match our power. Dr. Clark had been right about Cytherian psychology. They were proud hunters who had conquered many worlds. But they had always fought weaker enemies. They could not imagine that prey might be pretending to be weak dot in the asteroid base sanctuary. Final preparations were being made. Admiral Thompson walked through the corridors, visiting different sections of the command center. In the communications room, technicians monitored signals from across human space. In the tactical center, officers planned the exact timing of each fleet's arrival. Are you worried? Jake Morrison asked her as they stood in the main corridor. Admiral Thompson considered the question. Worried about the battle? No. Our people are ready. Our ships are better than theirs, and we have them outnumbered. Worried about what comes after? Yes. What do you mean? When this is over, the entire galaxy will know what we're capable of. Some races will want to be our friends. Others will see us as a threat. Everything changes after tomorrow. Jake nodded. He understood. Humanity had been hiding its true strength for decades, letting other races think they were weak and primitive. After this battle, that pretense would be over forever. Any regrets? He asked. Admiral Thompson looked out through a small window at the stars. About keeping our strength secret? No. It kept us safe while we built up our defenses. About what? We're going to do to the Catherian fleet? No. They chose this fight when they attacked our colonies. The final hours before battle were quiet in human space. Crews checked their weapons one last time. Ship captains reviewed their orders. In hidden bases across the solar system, 3,000 warships waited in darkness. The Empress would arrive, expecting to find 50 scared human ships. Instead, she would find a trap that had been decades in the making. Her pride and arrogance had blinded her to the truth about humanity. Soon, she would learn that sometimes the prey was actually the predator. Captain Jake Morrison stood in the massive throne room of the Stellar Crown. The alien ship was bigger than anything humans had ever built. Golden walls reached high above his head, covered in strange symbols that glowed with soft light. The air smelled like metal and something sweet that made his nose itch. Empress Zarathic sat on her throne at the far end of the room. She was tall, maybe 8 feet, with green scales that caught the light. Her armor looked like it was made of crystal, changing colors as Jake watched. Right now it was a calm blue, but he knew that could change fast. Jake kept his face blank. As he walked forward, behind him, Commander Lisa Hayes and Admiral Pete Collins followed. Their boots made soft sounds on the smooth floor. Jake could feel the eyes of alien soldiers watching them from the shadows. The Empress smiled, showing sharp white teeth. So, she said in perfect English, the little humans have come to beg. Jake stopped 10 feet from the throne and gave a small bow. Not too deep, not too shallow. Just enough to show respect without looking weak. Your Majesty, he said, I come to talk about peace between our people. The Empress laughed. The sound was like wind chimes mixed with a snake's hiss. Her crystal armor shifted to a bright yellow. Peace? After I destroyed 3 of your colonies? After I showed you how weak you are? Around the throne room, other aliens shifted and whispered. Jake recognized some of them from the intelligence files. General Vexstar stood to the right, his red scales darker than the Empress's green ones. Admiral Quindle was on the left, her armor black as space itself. We lost people in those attacks, Jake said quietly. Good people, families, children. And you will lose more, the Empress said, leaning forward. Her armor turned orange now, like a sunset. Unless you do exactly what I tell you to do. Jake nodded slowly. That's why I'm here, to discuss terms. The Empress sat back, looking pleased. Her armor went back to calm blue. Smart. Your intelligence reports were correct about these humans, General Vexstar. They know when they are beaten. The red-scaled alien stepped forward. Our scouts confirm it, Your Majesty. The humans have maybe 50 ships, old ones, weak ones, nothing that can stand against our fleet. Jake felt Lisa tense behind him, but she stayed quiet. Admiral Collins didn't move at all. They had practiced this many times. Tell me about your fleet, Jake said to the Empress. How many ships? Do you have? The Empress's eyes glowed brighter. She was proud, and proud people love to talk about their strength. 800 of the finest warships in the galaxy, she said. Each one could destroy 10 of your best ships. Impressive, Jake said, and he meant it. 800 ships was a lot. More than most people back on Earth knew about. The Empress stood up and walked to a large window. Outside, Jake could see some of her ships floating in space. They were beautiful in a scary way, all curves and spikes, with weapons that glowed red in the darkness. "Look at them," she said. "Perfect killing machines. And this is just a small part of my full fleet. I have thousands more ships spread across my empire." Jake joined her at the window. The alien ships did look dangerous. Their hulls were smooth black metal with lines of blue energy running along the sides. He counted at least 50 ships just in this group. "Your empire is very large," Jake said. "Larger than you can imagine," the Empress replied. 47 star systems bow to me. Millions of soldiers serve in my armies, and soon Earth will join them." She turned to look at him, and Jake saw something cold in her alien eyes. "Your people will make good workers," she continued. "Humans are small, but you can fit into tight spaces. Perfect for mining operations on asteroid bases." "You want to make us slaves," Jake said. It wasn't a question. "Servants," the Empress corrected. "I am not cruel. Feed us, build our ships, mine our metals, and we will let you live. It is a fair trade." Jake was quiet for a moment. Around the room, alien guards watched him carefully. Their weapons were ready, but not pointed at him yet. The Empress thought. She had already won. "I need to discuss this with my people," Jake said finally. The Empress nodded. "Of course. I am not unreasonable. I will give you 3 days to prepare your surrender. Use that time wisely." 3 days, Jake repeated. "Yes. After that, my fleet will come to Earth. If your leaders are smart, they will welcome us. If not..." She shrugged, and her armor flickered red for just a second. "Well, you saw what happened to your colonies." Jake bowed again. "Thank you for your mercy, Your Majesty." As they turned to leave, the Empress called out, "Captain Morrison, do not try anything foolish. My ships are watching all the routes back to Earth. Any hostile move, and I will order the immediate destruction of your home world." "Understood," Jake said without turning around. They walked back through the long throne room. Jake could feel alien eyes following them, could hear whispers in languages he didn't understand. Lisa and Admiral Collins stayed quiet until they were back in their own small ship. Once the doors closed and they were flying away from the Stellar Crown, Lisa finally spoke. "She actually believes we only have 50 ships." Admiral Collins smiled. "For the first time in hours. Their intelligence network isn't as good as they think." Jake looked back at the alien flagship getting smaller behind them. "She's going to call in more ships." This was just the advance force. "How many do you think she'll bring?" Lisa asked. "All of them," Jake said. "She wants to make an example of us. Scare the other races into surrendering without a fight." They flew in silence for a while, heading toward the jump point that would take them back to human space. Finally, Admiral Collins spoke again. "Think they suspect anything?" Jake shook his head. "No. They see what they expect to see. A weak race. Trying to avoid extinction." He paused. "The hard part starts now. We have to make sure everyone plays their part perfectly." "The colonies?" Lisa asked. "Already evacuated. The automated systems will make it look like people are still there until the very end." Admiral Collins nodded. "And Admiral Thompson?" "She's ready. They've all been ready for years." Jake looked out at the stars ahead of them. Somewhere out there, hidden in the darkness, 3,000 human warships waited for his signal. The Empress thought she was hunting sheep. Soon she would learn that she had walked into a trap set by wolves.